Let's watch a cartoon with a cuddly little demon.
He is so cuddly. He's friggin' adorable.
I'm Alec, this is my brother Lucas, and welcome to Hester Bros Cartoon Theater. Today we are talking about the Owl House and asking the question, is it for kids?
And is it for adults?
A lot of the time, Lucas and I come in here, either we've both seen the show or Lucas is introducing it to me for the first time. But today, I introduced a new cartoon to him. My experience with this cartoon is that I was actually led to it by Gravity Falls. Lucas introduced Gravity Falls to me, I fell in love with it. And this is one of the only modern cartoons that I watched as it came out, every episode one at a time. I fell in love with it, so I wanted to share it with him. Lucas, what's your experience with it?
I'd heard of this show a lot. It's been recommended to me. This one, Kipo, obviously we talked about Kipo as well, which is another one you introduced to me. I've been introduced to them under the impression that they're very similar to shows like Steven Universe and Gravity Falls. And because of that, they're really high on my watch list, and I've been meaning to for a long time, but you know, we do so much for this show, and I watch so much anime, I'm reading so much anime that I hadn't got to it for a long time. I watched it for the first time today. I watched the pilot, and then I watched the episode that we'll be talking about, episode 4, Intruder.
The Intruder, episode 4.
This was my first experience with it, and I had a very good time, of which we will get into.
So if you haven't seen the Owl House before, it's about a teenage human girl named Luce who stumbles upon a portal leading to another world, which is called the Boiling Isles. She befriends a witch known as Ida the Owl Lady, and her roommate, the adorable King of Demons, who live inside the Owl House, a front door of which is guarded by the zany owl, Hooty.
Hoot! Well, hurry it up with that force field! That rain is getting closer to my precious stucco!
The show follows Luce's journey as Ida's apprentice to become a witch. It started in 2020. It's a series created by Dana Terrace, who you may know from her work on Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, DuckTales, and Gravity Falls, all of which I consider modern classics. As of this recording, it just started its second season, and the whole first season is on Disney+, so it's a good time to get into it now, and it's already been renewed for a third season. It has received critical acclaim and was nominated for a GLAAD Award for its positive LGBTQ+ portrayal. I just want to know what your very first impressions were from the episodes that you did watch today.
I watched the pilot, and I do screen recording when I watch these so that obviously I could put clips with them throughout our episode when I'm editing. I watched the first 2 seconds of the pilot and then paused it to go back and turn on my video screen recorder. And I was like, okay, I'm already hooked. This very first few seconds, I like the dragon, I like the character. I was really impressed by the writing. I thought it was very funny. It reminded me of some of the quick little, really short but really hard-hitting humorous moments that Gravity Falls and Adventure Time put in their writing.
Are you going to tell me this is all a fantastical dream? Give me your skin! Ah!
I really like the animation as well. I want to compare it to Kipo because I think Kipo definitely gives it more of a grainy, leaning towards anime feel, and I really like that. But I like this in a different way because it's also got that nice, polished, still feel of shows like Gravity Falls. I love the world that we've been introduced to. I'm very grateful that we left the human world immediately because I immediately hated her family. Wow, yeah, let's just stomp out the creativity of a child and put them in a reality check boarding school. That's the most awful thing I've ever heard of in my life. I was pretty generally impressed with the episode. Really funny. It got me laughing a lot.
Yeah, that's a surprise.
Yeah, which was a little bit of a surprise. And I'm interested in the plot. I'm interested in the characters. I'm interested in this world. It's hooked me with the curiosity. I'm not sure where they could take it, which could be a good or a bad thing, obviously, depending on the delivery. But I like the Owl House. The Owl House itself is very cool. The place in which the witch lives, and where Luz goes to travel for the first time and kind of start studying under the witch, the owl lady. I love the voice acting.
This is the Boiling Isles. Every myth you humans have is caused by a little of our world leaking into yours.
Wendy Malick is the voice of Ida, the Owl Lady, and she does a ton of stuff. I couldn't even begin to get into it.
I recognized her immediately.
You mentioned Gravity Falls. You may be surprised to know that Alex Hirsch, the creator of Gravity Falls, is not only the voice of King, but also Hooty. And there is a hilarious joke in episode 4.
Hoot! I'm on the floor! It's cold!
That voice. That horrific voice.
That's hilarious. I like that.
Yes.
That's very good.
There's a lot of overlay with the Gravity Falls creators because Alex Hirsch came in to help a lot with this one. Luce is voiced by Sarah Nicole Robles. She is a relatively new voice actor, but does a phenomenal job in this series, and there are other characters that you haven't been introduced to yet that I think that you would like as well.
This is another show, along with Kipo, that I very much plan on finishing, which I don't feel all the time about shows that I recently get introduced to.
You sort of started talking about the pilot, right? Where Luce comes into this world, but the main episode we're going to talk about today is the one I recommended, The Intruder, and in this episode, there's a boiling rain in the Boiling Isles that keeps everybody stuck inside the owl house for the day. Luce tries to get Ida to teach her her first spell, and King wants to teach her all about demons. But after Ida passes out from exhaustion, a real demon breaks through the front door, and it's up to Luce and King to save the day. The reason that I wanted to recommend this one was because I think it sort of encapsulates the series very well and the direction that it is heading. Let me just ask, did you like the theme song? Did it stick out to you at all?
I did. I would say the music didn't stick out that much. I think the more I listened to it, the more I'd start enjoying it. But I really liked the animations that they gave with it. I thought that there were some pretty cool monsters that were showcased. They showed the main characters pretty well. So yeah, I thought it was good. I didn't like it as much as Gravity Falls song, because that song to me is just like so iconic. But, you know, maybe over time, the more I listened to it, the more it could grow on me. I definitely thought it was good.
We just did Superhero Month, right? We are now rebounding from that. This was a really nice palate cleanser to me after all of the really serious shows we just watched, to be able to just come in and have a really good time, laugh with this show. And I will say, as far as kids are concerned, it is a bit of a darker comedy. Some of the visuals are a little bit intense.
Give me your skin!
I would say, like, if I were younger, I might have a reaction to him.
One of the lines specifically related to that I thought was hilarious in the pilot episode.
I've had enough adventure for today. This is clearly not the PG fantasy world I always dreamed about.
I didn't think it was like that crazy. I would say that Gravity Falls has probably had some darker moments.
Ancient blood and blackened skies, the forest dark shall once more rise.
Well, and episode 4 literally opens up with King teaching Luce about demons. There's a lot of really good lines tied through there, too. When Ida is teaching Luce about the weather in the Boiling Isles, she talks about the different weather features and talks about a pain bow.
Pain bows. It's like a rainbow, but looking at it turns you inside out.
Yes! I like this. I like where this is going.
You may have noticed that the witch theme is extremely prevalent, not only in the episode that we watched today, but throughout the show. Let's talk about the spells in the show, because I think a really neat concept is that we have these things called glyphs, and these glyphs always have to be contained within a circle that is drawn. Each glyph is a little bit different. So we only get one in this episode, which is, it's the glyph of light, and it can basically create light balls. I actually really like the glyphs. I think that they're a cool concept that gives the show a lot of creative liberties going forward, and they can just keep adding more and more to the show's continuity, and it keeps it fresh.
It looks just like transmutation circles in Fullmetal Alchemist.
One of the really cool things that we get in this episode especially is that we spend the whole time with this demon that has broken into the owl house. Luce and King, while they think that Ida is passed out, it turns out that, spoiler alert, the demon was Ida the whole time. She has a pretty crazy dark design. They are able to save her, of course, still a Disney show. At the end, we get a really neat backstory that leads into the future of the season. And I will say that this is the first very important episode toward wrapping up that final plot, I would say.
So 3 things I want to say about this. First of all, you say it's a Disney show as if that, you know, that makes it more politically correct. I will also mention that this lady owl did literally consume a creature hiding in their house and vomit it out, and it literally says,
"Oh, I think my tail was digested."
That got me, man. I spit laughing. That was great. Second of all, I did think the plot of this, though it was structured well, it wasn't as interesting to me as the pilot. We have an environmental condition that locks us in the house, okay? Good setup. And then we have this threat that's in the house, that is something that we need to take care of. I pretty much immediately figured out that it was probably going to be the Lady Owls.
Oh no! A twist!
That was not much of a shock to me, so if they were playing for the shock value, that didn't hit me very hard. The thing that made this episode good for me was the ending that you said, where we actually get a teaser that's kind of showing you that there's going to be this continuous plot, and there's this mystery of how this person was cursed, and maybe this journey to find out who it was and maybe fix it. Something like that going on. I still thought it was a great episode. You know, I'm comparing a pilot episode that I very much enjoyed to this one, which, again, it had a good structure. Also, I did think that the plot line with the demon trying to show Luce his demon stuff, and then her ignoring him to learn witchcraft because she feels misunderstood, and then he also felt misunderstood, and they had that connection. A little hokey, but I still think they did it well. It was sweet, and I think the way that they turned it around at the end is great, because I really love the demon character. King's his name?
I will say that King reminds me of my dog Oppie in so many ways. When he said the line, "I was gonna let you scratch a demon's tummy," all I could think of was like my dog saying those words from his little dog body. Let's talk about whether this is for kids or adults. This show is gonna turn your kids into gay witches. It is interesting to talk about these shows that are very clearly marketed for kids, that challenge the norms, especially for network TV, and maybe make some parents uncomfortable because of the content that is being put out. We compare it to a Gravity Falls, something that not only is on a kid's network, but clearly has gained a massive following of adults as well. And I think that Owl House is certainly going in that direction. I really do think that this is an all ages show. And you're talking about how you really enjoyed this, and you also enjoy shows that are very clearly for adults, much more serious, going to be hitting home a lot more. I am really curious to hear what you have to say as to where exactly it falls, because I know it's a kids show, but you also really liked it, and you're an adult. So where does the line fall for you?
I mean, I like shows like Gravity Falls and Adventure Time, which are technically considered kids shows, but they have these great plot lines. You say I like shows that are for adults, but all of my top favorite shows of all time are all things like Adventure Time and anime. Those are mostly for kids and teens, but they take them seriously. This is very much in my wheelhouse of the kind of stuff that I prefer. I would say that it is probably leaning more towards the kid side still. I say that this is all ages for sure, because it doesn't matter what your age group is, because good character development, good writing, and good plot will always win. And that's something that I don't get from shows like Family Guy, which is too far one side, and shows like SpongeBob, which are too far the other side. Yeah, that's right. Another dig at SpongeBob. Go check out our debate on SpongeBob if you want to know more about that. Some adults throw out everything animation, as a rule. Which, if you're one of those people, A, what are you doing watching our show? B, you're horrendously mistaken. You're missing out on some of the most amazing, emotionally rich content that you could ever see. Especially because you could do so much more with animation than you can with live-action filming. I really liked this. I'm very excited to see more. This definitely gets the Lucas seal of approval for being a good show.
Lucas, the reason that I wanted to highlight how you felt about it there is that one of the visions for this series, for kids or adults, was not just to analyze a show and say whether it is for kids or adults. It's also to take kids' cartoons that we grew up with or are currently getting made now and kind of illuminate the fact that whether it's marketed for kids or not does not mean that it cannot be consumed by a large amount of audience. Owl House, along with other modern shows like Kipo, which we already covered, or a Gravity Falls that has a lot of connective tissue with this one,
which we will cover. Please subscribe.
They really point out exactly what I'm talking about, that kids shows can very much be for everybody, and I personally enjoy them a lot more. They're more fun watches. I don't have any kind of anxiety watching a show that is mostly targeted for kids. It's just light, fun viewing, and it keeps my attention. A show like this has, like you said, such great writing, and that's what carries the day for me. I freaking love Owl House. I was really excited to show it to you, and I'm excited to share it with the world if people haven't seen this one yet.
Cool. Are we done here?
I think we sure are. So, Lucas, next week we are going to be talking about, big one, the Animaniacs. We're going to be watching the episode Hercule Yakko.
Please like and subscribe. Check us out on our social media so you don't miss all of these lovely updates if you're not already subscribed. But if you're going to follow us on social media, you might as well subscribe. It's only 2 buttons, you know? So, I know that the social media attention span of humanity right now is at an all-time low, but let's try. Let's just give it a shot, you know? Just Bye.
Bye, everybody.